you doing? It's Saturday, December the 9th. I got the date wrong on my mail out. If you're a member of my mailing list, I called it Saturday, December 8th. At least 2 people wrote me to say, that's not really the date. Typos are not allowed. Anyway, it's December the 9th. And here we are at the end of another year. Isn't this bonkers? I checked, and the last time I did one of these Ask Me Anythings was a little over a year ago. It was towards the end of October last year, not too long after this part of the world had been hit by a pretty massive hurricane. So it's kind of interesting to watch the beginning of that again and think back to those times. We've cleaned up a lot since then. Place looks pretty good now. You'd almost never know that anything happened, except if you were here before the big storm, you would notice that a lot of the trees are gone. We have a big forest. We had a big forest right behind our house that pretty much had to all come down. The company that owns all the land went around with big machines tearing down all the dead trees, and so it's going to be a nice sort of clearing out there now. A nice place to walk and stuff, but not so woodsy and natural looking. Hi, everybody. I'm just checking to see who all's here. Looks like there's a few of you out there. That's nice. Yeah, Devin, nice to hear from you in San Diego. Great. Okay. Well, let's see what comes up. We'll follow up on that. And I noticed you mentioned Facebook, and I forgot to get my Facebook going. So I better do that just so I can make sure that people can see what's going on, and that when they have questions there, I also get them. It's kind of a silly thing to have an ask me anything without seeing half the questions that come in. Let's see, how are we doing here? Okay, make sure we're rolling. There I am, blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. Nice. Okay, so yeah, this is an Ask Me Anything session, so feel free to ask questions to do with guitar playing or music or touring or gear or composing or arranging or fingerstyle guitar playing or nails or flat picks, thumb picks, my compositional process, whatever you want to talk about. That's what this is. It's like a free-for-all kind of workshop. So I'll keep checking your comments, and in the interim, I'm going to play a tune for you. And I'm not wearing headphones, but I presume you can all hear that okay. I'm going direct with the guitar, and I have this mic set up as well. I'm going to play a little bit of a tune of mine that I wrote a number of years ago. I actually wrote it for a live theater project, and it's a tune called Big Buck. It's live. up. Hi, everybody. Alrighty. Hey, Eula, nice to see you out there in internet land. Hi, David. And, oh, thanks, Devin. Glad you like that. Hey, Yushen Lin from Taiwan. Really nice to see you tuning in from so far away. I'm on exactly the other side of the world from you. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Grimur. Nice to hear from you. And Rosalvo in Brazil. It's wonderful that you're all here. So like I said, there's a tune called Big Buck. And the piece was written originally for a piece of live theater. The theater piece was called Big Buck City. And the playwright's name was Daniel David Moses, who died, unfortunately, not long ago, maybe in the last year or so. He was a First Nations Indigenous playwright from here in Canada. And it was a really delightful play. It was like a farce. It was very, very funny. It was about sort of a upper middle class Indigenous couple living in Toronto and all these ridiculous things that happened. It was kind of like if you've ever seen Noises Off. I think they made a film of that too, but I remember seeing the stage play many years ago. Kind of worked that way. A whole lot of choreography involved. Oh, thanks. Looking good. Who's that? Is that Ryan? I'm not sure who that is. RAL3 Xander. I wonder if that's Ryan Alexander. Maybe not. I don't know. Thank you very much. I'm wearing the new specs. I have a lot of glasses. As my friends will tell you, I also lose a lot of glasses, so I have to keep replacing them. But these are my new reading glasses for seeing my computer screens. And it's funny, my last pair, our puppy got a hold of them the other day. It was like a couple of weeks ago. I came back from grocery shopping and I knocked my reading glasses off the dining room table. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, I got to go pick those up. And I went out to get another couple of bags of groceries. And when I came back in, I heard this crunching sound and it was the puppy eating my glasses. So I had to get a new pair quickly off the internet. So that's what these are. Can I play Michael? I certainly can. It's going to be interesting on this guitar because this is my newest guitar. And it's still like, I mean, I've had it for a few years, but I've had it set up a couple of times and it's still not quite right. It still fights back just too much. I like a guitar that fights back, but this is maybe a bit too hard to play this guitar. But just before we went live, I broke a string on my more easy to play guitar. And I thought, so I just swapped out really quickly. But my guitars are made by Mark Beneteau. He's a great guitar builder from here in Canada. And so, yes, I can play that tune. I'll get to it. Ken Kruger's asking, what was it like to play with Bruce Cockburn? It was like freaking awesome. As you may know, Bruce is one of my big music heroes. I discovered his music when I was about 13 or 14, and it really changed my direction in terms of where I wanted to go as a guitar player. Not that I was really doing anything that wildly different, but I mean, I was mostly listening to pop music and rock music. And then I discovered Bruce's music and I thought, wow, listen what you can do all by yourself on a guitar and a voice. And that knocked me out. So we've slowly become friends over the course of the last 20 years or so. And then we finally got to work together for the first time about 7 years ago at a music festival in Alberta. And the tune that we decided to work towards playing together was a tune of his called Stained Glass. And then when I was putting my last album together, I raised the money to make the album on Kickstarter. And fortunately, the money that came in was enough to hire like an orchestra for one tune and a string quintet for a couple of other tunes and to hire Bruce Cockburn to play on that tune with me again. So it's his song. We did it as a duet. And then he came through the East Coast last month and he got in touch with me and he said, hey, I'm playing in Charlottetown. Do you want to come play that tune with me again on stage? And I was just like, oh, let me think about it. Okay. So we ended up doing it in Charlottetown and Halifax a couple of nights later. So that was so much fun, let me tell you. And he's a gentleman and a lovely guy. And yeah, it was very ostentatiously generous thing of him to ask me to do that with him. So that's lovely. This melodic outro. Oh, you like the outro to that tune? Yeah, it's really sweet. It's kind of a Leo Kottke thing. I think of that as a very Leo influenced kind of thing. I also saw over here. Oh, Yushen, you're learning Michael right now. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's a tough one. Hi, Claudio. Hi, good to see you. What? Okay, all right. Here's a question. So we're starting to get questions. So the question from Joseph Galasso is: are the natural harmonic positions 3, 5, 7, 12, 19 good places to play back and forth on? Yes, I play that. I play sort of cascading harmonics on various harmonic nodes very often in my tunes. So, for example, even in standard tuning, it sounds pretty good. So here I'm standard tuning again. I was just in drop D for that other piece. And for example, something I do fairly often in my tunes, and it really sounds nice, even in standard tuning, is I start here on the second string. So I'm playing my second string with my index finger here. And so I pick that at the 7th fret, and I get that F sharp harmonic there. That one. And then right after that, I'll reach over here with my 4th finger, and I'll touch the 1st string at the 12th fret at that harmonic to get that E natural harmonic. So we get F sharp and E. And they're very close in pitch. They're only a major second apart. It's like they're like if you were to play an E minor scale, it's notes 1 and 2 of that scale, like 1, 2, da 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 da. Okay, so, but it's kind of interesting that you get those two notes that are very close to each other. Then if you take the same 2 finger positions, basically, so finger 1, string 2, fret 7, finger 4, string 1, fret 12, and move it 1 string closer to you, okay, so lower in pitch, then you end up here at the 3rd string at the 7th fret with your 1st finger, and you play that with your index. Again, just keep the same picking. Here I did index, middle, okay, to get these 2 notes. Now I move to the next 2 strings, strings 3 and 2, again with index and middle, okay, so I'm just doing this back and forth to get the actual articulations. So, and doing that, we get this D note here and a B note here. So they're a minor third apart. So this is very melodic sounding. It's really lovely. Then you get the next 2 sets of strings. You get string 4 at fret 7 and string 3 at fret 12, again with fingers index and middle. And you get the notes A and G, again only a whole tone apart. Then the next 2 strings, we get strings 5 and 4 at frets 12 and 7, and we get an E and a D. Those are the notes. And then the last 2 strings, we get a B here on the bottom string and an A string here, and I'm playing them all again with index and middle back and forth, so like this. See, so that makes right away a really lovely melody. Really pretty, kind of like basically like a minor pentatonic scale. Yeah, minor pentatonic, was that correct? Let me think about that. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. Sounds correct. Yeah. Also, you can get slightly different sets here, like you get at frets 5 and 7. Now you start repeating a lot of pitches over here. So less interesting in standard tuning, but certainly off of frets 5 and 12, 7 and 12 rather. Super cool sounding. And then you can get the kind of the Bruce Cockburn thing where you can go like, so I'm doing cool things like I'm playing string 6, then string 4, then string 5, and I'm doing frets 7, 12, 12, and I'm doing this now. I'm doing thumb, index, thumb, middle, index, bump, 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 bump. So. So you can get all kinds of interesting melodies that way. So that's an example of using at least 7 and 12 and 5 and 7. Now, when you get up into the upper harmonics, it's possible to play those, but not as easy. And again, you get a lot of pitch class repetition. So if you have a cutaway, I suppose those are a little easier to play. I'm not one of those people who likes cutaways, so I just prefer not to play with one. So that's maybe a little more challenging for me to come up with good sounds up there. Anyway, hope that answers your question. When was the last time I came to Taiwan? Yushen Lin's asking. That's a good question. That's getting to be a long time ago now. I went over quite often in the late 90s and in the early 2000s. I did a lot of work for Jonathan Lee, who you may know. He's a pop singer. He was a very, very big star at the time, and he had his own record label, and I was doing a lot of arranging and session work for the acoustic people on his label. But then Napster happened, and it kind of killed all that work, unfortunately. Yeah. There was even, I think it was in 2001, I was supposed to go over and do about $30,000 of work that all went down the tubes because he just decided to sort of close up the label because it wasn't working out with all the file sharing going on. Yeah, too bad. Hi, Heiko. I am doing well, and really nice to hear from you. Much love from Germany/Spain. Those are not the same country. But they're both in the EU. So I guess you're in Spain at the moment. Nice to hear from you. Travis picking with harmonics. Yeah, you can sort of call it that. Hi, Travis Bowman. Speaking of Travises, really nice to hear from you. Can I talk about the writing process for This Dragon Won't Sleep? The 6-string tuning change is so groovy in that tune, and you'll love the bridge. All right. Well, let's take a look at that, and I'll just make sure that I'm not missing too many things over on Facebook. Most people are asking questions on YouTube. Okay, so This Dragon Won't Sleep is a really unusual tune in terms of tuning. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to get a kind of an ominous sound. I wanted to get like a really dark kind of foreboding kind of sound out of the guitar. And I guess the reason why was at the time I had 2 young children. Like I had an almost teenage stepson, and then my 2 daughters were very young at the time. They were only born 17 months apart. So at the time I wrote this, I think one was just about 2 years old, and the other one was just still a very young baby. So my late wife and I did not get a lot of sleep, and that's kind of what the theme of the tune was. It was actually something she said out loud one night when we were disturbed for the 20th time one night. You know, she actually said, "Oh, this dragon won't sleep." And then she looked at me and said, "That's a good name for your new album." And it was. So that's where we got it from. Just something she uttered at 3 a.m. But, okay, so the tuning is really bizarre. So hopefully I won't break any strings. The bottom string is a C. Okay, nice and deep. I'll just check with my tuner. And then this is the crazy part. I always call this tuning Keb Eb Ficada tuning because it's C and then 2 E flats. So the A string, hi Alex on Facebook, the A string goes all the way down to an E flat. More or less. Let's see what the tuner says. Okay. The D string now goes up to an E flat. Oh, please don't break. I haven't put new strings on this guitar in a little while, so. Okay, so I have 2 E flats an octave apart. It's one of the stranger tunings I've ever come up with. But I remember there was a method to the madness at the time, of which I've forgotten. And then the second string goes up to a C. I remember that. Tuning it first because it's easier to find. The high string goes down to a D. And then the third string goes down to an F. So it might not break down the way down, but probably break on the way back up. I'm almost in tune. And then the tuning itself, it's a C minor 11th chord, but it's kind of a bizarre voicing because of the third doubled in octaves right next to each other in successive strings. So C, E flat, F, C, D, hence Keb Eb Fickede tuning. All right, and I'll get her in better tuning first. Not so bad. All right. So what I noticed right off the top is I really like this sound as a kind of weird melodic intro. Those 4 notes. So I decided to use my index finger like a flat pick, and I kind of mute the strings. I didn't do that very well. And then the melody starts. No, that's not right. Been a while since I played it. And then that's kind of the A section. It all repeats. So that again, that whatever it was, 16 bar phrase or whatever. And then I do kind of a variation on it, like, oh yeah, first I do this thing. That was very inexact. No. Kind of an A prime, so I sort of it's very similar to the A, but it goes up a minor third. Oh yeah, right, and I changed the bass line. No. Back to this. I'm totally relying on muscle memory. Now, the part that you're talking about, Travis, the retuning part, I go back to that sort of ominous sounding introduction. And I go. So usually it's a little better than that. So try that again. So I've already retuned down to B flat now. And then I go. That kind of goes 4 times, and then I go back to then I go back to this, and I tune back up. So I'm doing that without any Bill Keith tuners or anything. Like John Gom has those tuners that retune very exactly. Alexander Mishko does the same. Mishko does a very similar thing. Adrian Legg was sort of the guy who did that first. I've never actually installed those. So part of the fun, I think, is that when I go to play tunes like that, or there's a couple of other tunes where I retune. Cup of Pop is one of them. I can't remember. There's at least one other one. Part of the fun is the inexactitude of the tuning, and I kind of get there, and then I hear it, and it's maybe not quite right, and I reach over really quickly, and it's kind of part of the theater that goes on with the tuning, and people who, especially guitar players, will see that and go, "Oh, that's really fun." It has to mess around with it before it's right. So yeah, it's part of the charm. All right, so I hope that helps. Travis, let me know if there's anything else that I didn't cover that you need to know about that. Let's see what else people are saying. Stealth Parrot saying, would you mind discussing the technique used for the harmonics in the opening bars of your tune, Catherine? Yes, okay, sure I shall. Okay, so I'll come back to that. Ryrith Potts says, be nice to see you over in the UK again. I know. I haven't had an agent in the UK in a while, so it's been a little tough to book stuff. But one thing I'll say for sure is that Yula Malishka, who I know is watching right now over in Germany, she and I are going to be playing a double bill concert at the Ullapool Guitar Festival up in northern Scotland next October, so October of 24. So our plan is to book a few more things in the UK, most likely in Scotland, but who knows? Maybe we'll get into England as well. And who knows? Maybe Wales. Maybe I'll contact my old agent and see if he'd take me on for one tour. So that would be fun. I'd like to do that. Okay, so Catherine, I'll get back to that. Yushen is asking, what's the hardest original song, or the top three? Probably the most difficult ones would be like Michael's up there. So is Cup of Pop. That one's really hard even for me to play. And then probably what's the number three? There's a couple of them. Maybe there's a tune on my last studio record, not Water, but the one before, the last studio album that I did, A Million Brazilian Civilians. There's a tune on there called 774, which is quite challenging. So that's in a really low tuning. Cool. Fun Being Lucky is my hardest song. It's also very difficult to play. It's true. That's the problem. A lot of my tunes are very dense. They're very challenging, especially some of the big chords in the left hand, and then the right hand technique is always pretty wacky. So I know some of the tunes are hard to play. Let's see now. Heiko, you said you're currently based in Spain. Nice. Well, I'll be in Spain in March, so look for me there. I'll be in Madrid, Barcelona, and Cadiz. It looks like. Cherish that you gave me a chance to open up for you. Yes, in Mülheim. That's right. It's cool. Loving FCD on the top three strings. Okay, so let me just get to a couple of questions. Catherine. Okay. Oh God. Let's. Here's hoping. These are in wildly different tunings. So Catherine is in Dadgad tuning. This is always the danger, the third string. See what I mean? There we go. All right, so I have a broken string on each of my guitars right now, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'll play the video again for 2 seconds while I go get some strings. Okay, so hold on. I got to get into the right thing. I will be right back. Blow too many speakers with that broken D string. I've just decided to go back to my spruce guitar and replace the E string that broke earlier. It's funny because I was thinking to myself before I went live today, I think I should probably replace the strings on my guitar because I know that I did some gigs on it. And well, usually I change strings pretty much every gig on my regular pitch guitar because That way I tend not to break them live. And of course I didn't change them since the last gig, so that's why they broke. Anyway, let's see how we do here. I've got an extra whole set of strings next to me in case I need to. Nice that you're coming out to the trail side, Daniel. That's great. Yes, I'll tell you a little bit about some upcoming shows that I have. In case you don't get my email, which you should, you can just join my mailing list if you go to donrossonline.com, and you can join there. But the show in Charlottetown, where I live here on Prince Edward Island, is coming up on January 16th. That's a Tuesday night. I'm playing at the Trailside Music Hall, which is right on Kent Street, right downtown Charlottetown. And then that's an A, yes. A couple of nights later, I'm playing in Halifax at the Carlton. So the way it works is my friend Sean Hall is coming over from Washington State. He lives just south of Vancouver, BC, in a town called Bellingham in Washington, or Bellingham as they say there. So Sean and I did a duet on my most recent album. It's also on his most recent album. And then the thing that's different about them is on my version, there's also an orchestra on the tune. That particular tune, I didn't hire a real orchestra. I did sampled orchestration, which I do for a lot of my video game scoring and film scoring that I do. So it can sound very realistic. And so I was invited to take part in this thing called the Open Waters Festival in Halifax. And it's a festival that involves the local Symphony Nova Scotia. And so that's a real treat, because I've been wanting to play with that symphony for years, and finally here's a chance. And I really want to do that tune, so I'm flying Sean over in the middle of January, and we're going to do that show. So that's in Halifax on January the 11th at St. Andrew's United Church, which is right on Coburg Road, if you know where that is. Like Spring Garden Road becomes Coburg, and it's right at the corner of South Park, I guess it is. So that's on the 11th. So that will be Don Ross and Sean Hall playing a tune with a full orchestra as part of a longer program. But I think that's the only tune we're playing that night. And then, on the 16th, a few nights later, we're here in Charlottetown at the Trailside. That's with Sean. And also on the 18th of January with Sean at the Carlton in Halifax. So if you're on the East Coast, please come on out. And Daniel, I'm really grateful that you're coming. And thanks, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Okay. Mark Dunn wants to know why I'm so cool. I have no idea. All right. So, yes. Catherine, your question? Several comments ago, there's a question about the beginning of Catherine from Stealth Parrot, who is one of the regulars at our Don Ross Guitar Academy. Don Ross Guitar Academy. It's my little teaching academy online. So check it out. Yes. So Catherine, all I'm doing at the beginning of Catherine is I'm playing this chord, which is in Dadgad. This is a D major chord. Okay, it sounds like this. Okay. So what I'm doing is, I'm playing the D up the octave, and then on the G string, I'm playing at the 11th fret, which makes it just not quite an octave higher, so F sharp. Okay, so when you play all the strings together, it's a nice sounding D chord. So I go from that D chord to this chord, which is essentially, it hints at a first inversion A chord. So it sounds like an inverted A chord. So I'm really just going from this chord to this. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm interspersing fingered notes, notes that I'm fingering on my left hand, with some open strings and some harmonics. So I play the very beginning of the tune like this. That may have been missing a bass note. That's more like it there. Okay, so if I just isolate the melody part, of course, I do that little slide too. It's almost like a grace note. So that's kind of what the upper voice is doing, and the lower voice is doing the bass line, and that's this D that I'm playing with my second finger here. Then when I switch to the inverted A chord, I switch the bass note finger to the third finger. Okay, so I keep forgetting to play that extra bass note. Okay, and then so what I'm doing there, that's kind of cool. I hit this chord, which is a G chord basically, on those two strings, more like mostly on the third and sixth strings. That's a G, that's a B. And then I reach over and I play those high harmonics at the 7th fret while those notes are ringing. Now, you'll usually be able to hold on to the bass note and it'll still sound. You might lose the note on the 4th string. Oh, there, I held on to it there. And then, okay, so that's a hammer on to get the bass note, and then natural harmonics at the 12th fret. And then, so that's the low E, and then the harmonic splash there at the 5th fret. So I'll play the whole section. That's the A section. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers that question. Thanks for asking. Okay, let's see what other people are saying. Amor Fati is saying, hi Don, I love everything you do. Thank you. You have a niche hardware question. I love how natural the K&K sounds, but I find piezo so dynamic and touch sensitive. Is there a middle ground here? A lot of people mention that. The piezo pickup, yeah, it'll always pick up kind of almost everything you do, you know, like it picks up all the little sounds. Now the microphone picks up that even more. Like the microphone will really pick up this. Like I've got my K&K plugged straight into my interface here. I'm not going through any preamps or any pedals right now, but just using the sound that comes out of the guitar. And so you can hear all this rubbing sound against, you know, and the percussive sounds. Now, depending on your style, I guess, that may be a problem or it may be a great thing, because sometimes you can incorporate those sounds really nicely into your writing and into your live sound. I personally have found them really easy to integrate. When I first started using a microphone inside a guitar, I found it a little bit like, whoa, this is weird, you know, because I got so used to just like a pickup sound back in the bad old days when we didn't have as much to choose from. And then when, like, I think the first thing with a microphone that I used was something by Fishman, like a Fishman Matrix or something. And I thought it was okay, you know, whatever, you know. And then I got used to it, and then, but I never got used to the magnetic pickup. And that's it's a sound I've never been that fond of. What some people do though, is they might do a combination of the piezo pickup that comes with the K&K system, the microphone that comes with the K&K system, and then something like, I don't know if you can see it, maybe not right now. On my baritone guitar here, this beast, all right, you see it also in the sound hole has an M1 magnetic pickup. M1 was made by LR Baggs. I don't know if they still make them. This one's kind of old. This is at least the second guitar it's been in. And the cool thing about it is that it's kind of the most microphonic sounding magnetic pickup. And on the baritone especially, I find it really useful in terms of having a very direct bottom-endy signal that you can dial in and get a big fat sound. And I get rid of all the high end off it, basically. It just sounds like, it's just a whoomph, you know, without being boomy. And that in combination with the two sources on the K&K, I find works really well. People always comment on how killer this guitar sounds. And then my regular pitch guitar, I don't use the magnetic pickup because I don't find I want as much kind of larger than life bottom end. This system works really well for me. I don't have any problems with it at all. The thing that I suggest to people is, unfortunately, mine is in a spot where I can't move it, but there's two different versions of the kind of preamp system that you use for the K&K. There's the one that's the little box that you can put on your belt loop or whatever. Those work okay, but I think they're a problem because they're so hard to adjust. You have to take them, open them up and turn all these little things and then close it back up again. I prefer the Quantum Blender, which is the larger, it's like a half rack size. It's still very small. It's not big. But it's a blender for the two sides. And then you can regulate better how much pickup, how much microphone, and also EQ it. So if you're getting too much brightness out of one or too much bottom end, it's easy to equalize on the fly. And you can change it for each room you play in. So I really push that on people. I say if you're going to go with K&K, that's the way to do it. Also, their system will work with other two-source preamp blender kind of things. Like there's a D-Tar, one that does kind of the same thing. It sends power to the microphone, but it also blends the two signals. So that's your possibility. But you might want to consider throwing in a third source, like a magnetic. But I always tell people don't rely on the magnetic pickup sound because it ends up sounding like a cheap electric guitar, in my humble opinion. All right. So I hope that helps. Thanks for your question. Ben Richard, hey Don, I love telling people that one of the best guitarists in the world is Canadian. Really? Who's that? I saw you and Pipo perform in Charlottetown twice. Awesome. I was just talking to Pipo's manager today about some shows in Spain in the new year. David, you recently posted a Kevin Keith video. Tell us about Chapman sticks. I would love to tell you about Chapman sticks, but I don't know very much about them. A Chapman stick is basically, it's a guitar-like instrument, but you don't really play it like a guitar. It's usually got 10, sometimes 12 strings on it. And so the idea with a Chapman stick, I know this is probably driving some of you crazy, so I'll get rid of it. The idea with a Chapman stick is that it's kind of like two instruments glued together, more or less. And it's kind of like there's a guitar kind of range instrument on that side of the neck. And then there's like a bass on this side of the neck, closer to your face kind of thing. And you play it by tapping the strings. And so the right hand is kind of tapping the guitar range stuff, and the left hand is tapping the bass range stuff. And the thickest strings on the stick are in the middle. So you get the two thickest strings in the middle, and then they get thinner as you radiate outwards. So it takes a lot of rethinking. You can't really think of it like a guitar. You have to think of it more like a keyboard instrument more than anything else. And your two hands have very individual roles on the instrument. And it's a cool way to do it. I bought a very similar instrument once. It's called a hammer of Thor, or something of Thor. I forget. Another company makes it, and it's very similar to a Chapman stick, but a bit different. Anyway, I never quite got the hang of it. What I have instead is this thing. I don't know how well you can see it. This thing that I'm sort of pointing at back here. This thing that's on a keyboard stand is actually called a Kelstone. And it's a 9-string tapping instrument. It's you can play it somewhat like a guitar. So look, there are a couple of videos online. Unfortunately, the inventor of the instrument died a few years ago, so I don't think they're in production anymore. So I've got kind of a collector's item. But Kelstone, Kelstone is really what it is, because the guy, the inventor was Jan van Kelst, and so Kelstone, yeah. So he mixes his name with the word tone anyway, but it looks like Kelstone, Kelstone. And there's a few videos of Jan playing it and some other people. And it's really cool because it's 9 strings. They're tuned in fourths, so that the positions are all the same. You can tap it like a Chapman stick, or you can strum it like a guitar. You can even play fingerstyle on it. It's kind of nuts. And you can lift the strings up, say, with a pencil in the middle, and then play slide with a bar, like on a dobro. So it's a wacky instrument. So I want to play it more. I bought it sort of on a whim when I was in Belgium on tour, because that's where he was based. I was in Leuven, and I thought, well, I've got money in my pocket. I'll go buy a Kelstone. I use it sometimes for some of the score writing I do, but it's a really interesting instrument. Thank you. Let's just see if I'm missing a whole lot of people on Facebook. Most people seem to be asking questions on whatchamacallit, on YouTube. Okay. I don't think I'm seeing all the comments. Let me see here. I'm going to just double check this. Maybe if I
Big
click on that
city, and the playwright's name was Daniel David Moses, who died unfortunately not long ago, maybe in the last year or so. He was a First Nations Indigenous playwright from here in Canada. And it was a really delightful play. It was like a farce. It was very, very funny. It was about sort of a upper middle class Indigenous couple living in Toronto.
not one of those
and
people who would
unfortunately not long ago, maybe in the last year or so. He was a First Nations Indigenous playwright
what's
from
the
here in
easiest
Canada.
way of connecting
And it was a really delightful
scales?
play. It was like a farce. It was very, very funny. It was about sort of a...
Other than scales are good. They're good to know. But mostly what you need to know, like in major scale, let's say you're in the key of... and it was a really delightful... I'll play in D for now. Dad, yes. Very, very fun. But you got... This is your major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And there's a chord that goes with each one in major. 1 is major. 1, 2, whoa. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 7 is really a diminished chord. So if you learn them in order and then learn them out of order, like I always tell people, try doing the trick that a lot of vocalists do, where they're singing through a scale in thirds. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6, like that. So 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6, 5, 7, 6, 1, 7, 2, 1. Then you get used to how the chords work in a key. And so anyway, I hope that helps. I'm not quite sure if I'm understanding your question about connecting triads. I think you're just talking about going from chord to chord. Benoit Provost wants to know any stereo output for dual pickup. TRS. Well, yeah, this system I'm using, the K&K system, this is a TRS cable, which means tip, ring, sleeve. And so what it does is it takes two signals. It'll take the microphone signal and it'll take the pickup signal individually to the preamp, and also it sends power back to the microphone, because the microphone is a condenser. It needs power, phantom power, so it provides that. So I'm not sure if that helps. There are other systems that use TRS systems like this. Okay, but certainly the K&K does use TRS. Ronnie Lane, look! Oh, thank you very much. Am I in drop D tuning? Right now, I'm in dadgad tuning. So I was illustrating something in a tune of mine called Catherine. My guitar is falling quite a bit out of tune in a minute. John, hi. Story of all your life. Yeah, that's right. Break a leg, blah blah blah. Just wondering, did Brooke like the doodle of self? She certainly did. Thank you. John Lynn is a very fine artist who did some lovely sketches of our dog. Jeff says, don't you just hate it when a string says, I'm not stretching to your needs? Indeed. Great. Okay, that's awesome. Cool. A few more people. Eula asks a very big question. How do you compose? That's a good question. What I usually tell people is I use song form. That's pretty much how I've always done it. I did it without really knowing much about song form or even doing it consciously for a while. It just sort of I fell into it naturally, and then I eventually learned what I was doing. So song form is like rondo form or sonata form. They're all very similar depending on how you learned it. But all it is, it's like you have an idea, okay? So like we'll call it an A section. Just use letters. It's easy. An A section. And then very often what I do is I repeat that A section again. Like in the tune I started the set off with. Big buck. Okay, so here's the A section. A section again. Then there's usually a B. So for me, that would be this. Back to A. Then I do another B. So far I've done A, B, A, B. Then I do, in this case, instead of doing a bridge, like a whole new idea, I kind of have this it's almost like a sing-along, I think about it. Just repeat it again, it's fun. Good ideas. That's usually all I do. And most of the time I follow a form A-A-B, A-B-C, A-B, and then usually like an out there. But in this particular song, because there's this C section that's not really a bridge, I play it again. So in this particular case, I go A-A-B, A-B-C, A-B-C. That's it. The cool thing about thinking about writing that way, in that kind of form, is that it seems to be that song form or sonata form or rondo form, whatever you want to call it, makes tunes memorable, because there's enough repetition in them so that when you play a section again, people go, oh, I like this part. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it again, kind of thing. Music is one of the few art forms that kind of uses repetition right in it, right? Repetition is kind of required for most kinds of music. I mean, there's a lot of music that does not repeat, mostly experimental music. But, if you listen to the classics, if you listen to jazz tunes, if you listen to rock and roll, if you listen to pop music, listen to solo fingerstyle guitar music, most people are writing in song form. And then in terms of the mechanics of it, then it's a matter of learning a lot about theory and harmony. That really helps. And having a good sense of melody. I'm a sucker for a good melody. I love melodies. That said, I sometimes write tunes that I intentionally make non-melodic because I'm trying to get an energy or I'm trying to get some anger out or whatever it is. And the melody doesn't matter as much. Cool. Thanks for a good question. Big question. Yes, Newcastle, Sunderland. Okay, I'll try my best. Amor Fati. There's a good example. Robot Monster is a tune with no melody. It's really not a melodic piece. And it's very different in terms of the compositional approach. It's much more modular. It's like I have these little modules that you can sort of take and intersperse, almost like you're playing a shell game with music, and you can play them in whatever order you want. And the piece is also very programmatic and repetitive on purpose. So much in the same way as, say, Steve Reich, his music is. That piece is very much influenced by Steve Reich. That piece and Tochigi is another piece that I would say is very Steve Reich influenced. Also a tune off my latest album called Water. Any of those tunes, if you're familiar at all with the composer Steve Reich, you'll hear his influence in a fair number of my tunes. I need a string assistant. Yeah, basically I just need to be smarter and change my strings as often as I can. Okay, Devin's asking, can you discuss the naming convention I used when I named the song A Million Brazilian Civilians? The naming convention. There wasn't a naming convention. It was just something I heard somebody say on the radio. I kid you not. I already had the tune written. I didn't have a name for it. I thought, well, I'll come up with something crafty eventually. And then I was at home. I was living in Halifax at the time, and I was at home just making some salad or something for lunch. And I had the news on, and it was the CBC, our national broadcaster here in Canada, and they were rebroadcasting a report from the BBC, from the British Broadcasting Corporation. But it was a story about some ongoing protests in Brazil. So this is the president before Bolsonaro. I forget her name, but she was also not popular eventually, just like Bolsonaro was eventually not popular. But there was some kind of protest against one of her policies. And there were millions of people taking to the streets in all the big cities in Brazil. And this BBC broadcaster literally said, "On the streets of Brasilia, 1 million Brazilian civilians are protesting." And I thought, there's my title, 1 million Brazilian civilians. I thought to myself, right after he said it, I thought, he's probably having fun with that. Even though it's a serious report, he's just thought of himself as very clever, as having strung that together. I thought to myself right after hi, Filippo from Six Bars Jail, yes. Okay, I lost the comment. Where was it? Fooey. My audio's doubling. Oh, no, don't tell me. Where is it doubling from, I wonder? I've got all these off. Double down. Oh, no. Fooey. Hold on. I'm going to close this. I'm going to toast the Facebook page because I think maybe that's what's causing it. Sorry about that. Let me just see. Let me know if this is better. I think it was since I opened the Facebook page to the bigger size. That's what seems to have started it, because everybody started reporting on it about 7 minutes ago. Is there anything? Is it better now? Is it better now at all? Let me know. It's better now. Okay. Sorry, it was the Facebook page. I apologize. Yeah. Shite like that happens. I'm broadcasting to two services at once, and sometimes little weird things happen. Sorry. Okay, I'm glad we're fixed now. All right. All right. So let's ask a few more questions here. All right. Brian Tewsby. Hi, Brian. Trisby, rather. I got those pictures from your wedding. I was really chuffed to see that you and your best man met through the music. It's just like that killed me. I thought it was so sweet. Thank you. So Brian, Don, have you ever played with Masa Sumide? Yes. Masa and I did a little bit of touring together in India, of all places. I think it was it was a long time ago. No, it was like 2009. Yeah. We played in Mumbai together. We played in Bangalore. Yeah, crazy. You've always adored his work. Yeah, he's a pretty funky guy. He's under the radar, in the States. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's up to these days. I haven't heard from him in a long time. So, I lost track eventually. Good. Quantum Blender advice there from another player. Joseph, the subconscious mind or God speaking through dreams and visions? ? I'm not sure what that means. But thanks. Yes, okay. Now we seem to have... There's a lot of comments about the sound problem. Sorry about that. Would I share a fond memory of Al Petteway? Yeah. I got to know Al about 20 years ago, I guess, at first. I think what happened was he asked me to come and teach at the Swananoa gathering. So Al Petteway, this man that we're talking about, just recently passed away about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And he was a great guitar player. And I didn't even know he was ill, so it was very sad to hear he'd passed away. But yeah, back in the early 2000s, he asked me to teach at the Swananoa gathering in North Carolina. And it went really well, and it was a lot of fun, and I really loved meeting him and his wife, Amy. Amy White is her name, and they're both great musicians. And they were so madly in love. It was really fun to be around them because it was inspiring to see a couple that was so connected. And eventually I got to stay at their beautiful place in the mountains outside of Asheville, North Carolina. And what an idyllic spot. Stayed there for several days, a couple of times, and actually wrote a couple of tunes there, including a tune called Brooks Waltz that I started writing on a guitar that Al had sitting there. It was a Kevin Ryan guitar, really nice guitar. And it was in this tuning, what tuning is that song in? It's got oh yeah, it's a C, G, C, G, D, G, A, D, or something like that. C, G, D, G. Anyway, it's very similar to drop D, but a whole tone lower with the G still intact on the G string. So anyway, I was able to play positions that were a lot like playing in drop D, but it had this extra nice thing to it. So I wrote some tunes there, and then I went out. I played it. I taught at Swannanoa twice and got to know a lot of people there that are still friends, which is lovely, and from both the United States and Canada and other parts of the world. So that's all sweet. And then I kept in touch with those guys over the years. Amy actually took this picture. Al Petteway's wife took this photograph. So this was at Swannanoa. I played the public show that they have as part of the thing. And she took these she and Al met through, they were both professional photographers as well, working at National Geographic magazine. And so I remember this was like, the early 2000s, and they had these really high-end digital cameras that they were trying out. And back then, like a 20 megapixel digital camera cost like $10,000. And so there was this technique that Amy was getting to master that she called shake and bake. It's where you take a long exposure and you move the camera a certain way and it creates these flowing lines. So she took the cover photo for that album. And I used a couple of the other pictures for promo and stuff like that. So we still have a strong connection. And I last spoke to Al, I don't know, I guess it was a couple of years ago. He asked me if I'd play at the Swannanoa again, and I couldn't do it, which is too bad. Anyway, so sad to hear he's gone. A whole lot of comments came in. Will I play something? Sure. Somebody asked me to play Michael. Always an adventure. So the tuning for Michael is CGC. And then a G on the G string. And then a B flat. So once again, C, G, C, G, B flat, C. See how this goes. Yeah, version number 2000 of that one. Somebody was asking what my favorite tunings are. I don't really have any favorites, but there's one that I use a fair bit lately because it's so cool sounding. It's a C minor 11th tuning. So I don't think I dare get into it right now because I'll break more strings. But it's a C, G, E flat, F, B flat, D. So it's not too far from this. But it's like an open voiced C minor on the bottom and then a second inversion B flat on the top. That's a cool tuning to try. The tunes I've written in that one are So Little Time, So Much Time as well. Upright and Locked Position, A Million Brazilian Civilians. And then Cup of Pop starts in a tuning that has an E flat on the bottom, and then I retune in the middle down to that C minor, and then back up to the E flat. So, the songs I did with Callum Graham are awesome, but they were so long ago. Yeah, we did the one album 10 years ago, and it was a lot of fun. And Callum's gone on to have a very promising solo career, so good for him. But we see each other occasionally and do the occasional show together, but just not much lately, especially not since COVID kind of got in the way. Planning to work with Andy McKee anytime soon. Did something come up? We've both been invited to a festival in China for like a year and a half from now, so we might do something there. I don't know that we're going to do anything before that. Andy's got a solo career, plus he's got the trio with Callum and Trevor, and I don't know if he has much time for anything else. So, but again, everybody's super busy, so that's good. Okay. Can you ask why Michael is in the top 3 hardest songs? The right hand. The right hand's crazy in that tune. And I just did a whole lot of variations on it. I have a lot of fun messing around with that song. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Hi, Ben La Pirate. And there was something about 6 Bars Jail. Hold on. Who was that? So many good questions here. And I'm trying to find that one about 6 Bars. Filippo. Somebody mentioned Filippo. Give me a second here. Yeah, the Guitar Solstice is correct. That's right. You're going to see me and Sean in Halifax this January for your birthday. Do you and Sean have a set list, or will you take the odd requests? Oh yeah, we'll take requests. No problem. I will certainly do that for you. You recognize the baritone from Glasgow? Yes, that's right. I had it back then. In fact, it was brand new back then. More serious question. Where did you get the idea of the percussion slap with the thumb on the bass string? Because for me, you're the first one to do this thing that everybody does nowadays. You mean like the backbeat slap, like that kind of thing? That's not unique to me. Even like by the time when I started doing it, I didn't want to just turn it into this or this. I wanted it to be a really big sort of backbeat sound. I really got it from listening to people like Joni Mitchell when I was a kid. She was a big guitar hero of mine. And then Michael Hedges later on was pretty good at using it as well. But Joni was probably the biggest reason I did it. Yeah. I wish I could. Oh, here we go. Filippo from 6 Bars Jail here. Oh, it is you. Hi. It's great to see one of our posters. That's right. That's the one I just did, the show I just did last month. And the one I did in 2019, you can't see it, but I'm looking right at it. So I have them on opposite walls here. The concert, your venue was fantastic and big. Oh, that's sweet. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was really fun to get back to Florence. I was in Germany and Italy last month. I guess I've been back for 2 or 3 weeks and had a great time in Florence. Thanks, Filippo. Great that you're there. Okay, I know I'm missing a whole lot of stuff here. Brian Chang, you recently found out that that guitar neck setup with back bow had a better tone than up bow for fingerstyle playing. I'm wondering which you prefer. Oh my gosh, I have no idea which one I prefer. I probably for me, because I get my guitars set up kind of hard to play, I would imagine that they have a bow like it's got a concave like this. I don't know. I'm so not hip to how guitars work. I just know how to play them. Okay, let's see what else people are saying. You'll check out the bigger preamp. Yeah, the little box is fiddly. Exactly, I agree. The K&K thing. You love loaded leather. Thank you, Trinman Duk. That's great. I'm glad that's a fun one. And Oh yeah, overlapping audio. Okay, that's when we had that problem. I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't miss too many of your questions. Can I discuss the mindset when writing the first ride, your all-time favorite? Thanks, Devin. It started off as a tune in open C tuning, and that wasn't working with the ideas I had in my head, because I had all these harmonic ideas and all these cool ideas for different sections I wanted. So it worked way better with an F on the bottom and an A on the A string. So I ended up with this tuning F, A, C, G, C, E. And the whole thing traces out an F major ninth chord, which is really cool sounding. But the top 4 strings are a C chord, the bottom 3 strings are an F chord, and the top 5 strings are an A minor 7th chord, which harmonically are very important to the tune. Ironically, when I was in Europe, I was looking through my Instagram, and Andy McKee told me about this Instagram guy who talked about that tuning, that F major ninth tuning, and he called it a math rock tuning. And apparently it has taken off in the math rock world and the electric guitar. And you know, the guy was saying, I was introduced by so-and-so. And then Andy had a comment. He says, actually, Don Ross wrote a tune back in the 80s in the same tuning. Yeah, I wrote it in 1983, 40 years ago when I was 1. Okay. You see, OO says, how do I approach melodic composition? And what helps me the most to come up with a good melody? And it helps you most to create good progression from a melody. For me, melodies basically have to be singable. If a melody uses what's called good voice leading, which is basically like how you go from note to note, and you don't have these huge skips, and you don't have really weird intervals and stuff like that, then those tend to be the most memorable melodies, the ones you can actually physically reproduce. Now that said, a melody can be very convoluted as well and still be memorable. Even old tunes, like it's a guy named Turlough Carolyn, who was a contemporary of Bach, and he wrote all these tunes for harp. And one of them is a tune that I transcribed many years ago. It's called Carolyn's Quarrel with the Landlady, and the melody goes up da 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 dum da 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 ya da 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 dum ba da da dum ba da da ba da da ba da 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 da. Now, you can sing it. It's physically demanding to sing. But the melody is really brilliant, but it still involves a lot of scale movement, so it's memorable, you know. So that to me really helps, you know, if you make it so that it's a singable melody. And then in terms of how you approach accompanying a singable melody, you just find chords that have those notes, you know, that whatever the pivotal notes are in the melody, you find chords that contain those notes, and you try to make it so that you're not making any huge harmonic mistakes between the chords you're choosing and the notes in the melody. And that's kind of a brief overview on how that works. Eula asks, is there something in your career you still long for, like a thing you wish to do? For example, a special project, recording, touring with someone you wish to play with. I guess the thing with Bruce was big. Yeah, the thing with Bruce was pretty big. I would like to do more large ensemble work, like orchestra, chamber orchestra. I love that sound. I love the way it works with guitar really well. Also, guitar and voice and really well orchestrated stuff sounds really cool. In terms of other collaborations, I love collaborating in the chamber jazz kind of setting. I just released a single to the streams, a remix of a tune that I did, a live performance by my quartet, Don Ross Louder Than Usual. And we had a sub piano player named Joe Davidian on that gig. And I ended up with a board mix that sounded really great. The performance was amazing, but the mix was wrong. Unfortunately, now there's new AI tools that you can use for remixing, or what they call unmixing, stereo recordings, and you can extract the instruments and then boost them if you want. So I ended up remixing it in stereo, and then I was able to make a Dolby Atmos mix from a stereo MP3. It's crazy and sounds amazing. So I love working in that situation. Now the problem, every single time I work collaboratively, especially with more than just like one or two other musicians, is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make more money, you know, for the gig. The artist, whoever's playing, doesn't necessarily get a bigger fee just because there's more people on stage. So
it becomes financially very difficult to make it viable when you have large numbers of people playing together. Even a quartet, it's a lot of mouths to feed, right? Eula, you and I will be doing some tours together, and that's great because 2 people is a nice number. 3 is kind of the magic number. Like if you go beyond 3, then you're kind of it's almost no point. But depending on the situation, sometimes a duo will attract more people than a single. Sometimes or 2 well-known players that can sort of draw on both of their audiences. But in terms of other collaborative stuff, I kind of feel like I've done most of the collaborations I really want to do. There are certainly other hero musicians I would love to do something with one day, like Pat Metheny. I would love to do. I don't even know if he knows I exist, but maybe he does. I would love to do something with him. I'd love to do more with Michael Manring, the great bass player. He played on my last album. It's a lot of fun to work with him. And so certainly there's a long list of people I'd love to work with, but that's a great question. Yes, it was influenced by Foxglove. That's right, Stealth Parrot. My tune First Ride was influenced by Foxglove, a tune by Bruce Cockburn. Joseph, you're referring to where some artists get songs from. Paul Simon gets his through dreams and other artists too. Right. I'd have dreamt a couple of tunes, not that many. For me, it's mostly, it comes out of improvisation. I find that if I work improvisatorily, either on the piano or on the guitar, that's kind of where most of my tunes come from. Anne Pickering, you'd love to see me play with Ani DeFranco. Wouldn't that be great? I got to know Ani pretty well, like 30 years ago. We played at a lot of the same festivals, and we became chummy. And she had all kinds of questions about my gear, so I was giving her my schematics, of how I got my sound and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't seen her in a long time. But I'm sure she's doing well. Hi, Jared. That's fantastic. Thanks for tuning in from St. John. I know I'm probably missing a fair number of your Facebook comments. Unfortunately, it's causing audio feedback if I turn it on. All right, let's go for another 10 minutes, and then I'm probably going to have to get on with my Saturday. Yes, thanks, Mark. Michael Hedges ? Oh yes, Michael was dedicated to Michael Hedges. He was supposed to play it with me as a duet, but it didn't work out because he unfortunately passed away. Capitaine Busson says, so cool to say you play this on the spot. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks, Maryse. I'm glad you like Michael, and that's great. That's right. Exactly, Eula. My timing was bad. Chat and a concert. How do I approach melodic composition? That's the same question I already answered. Sorry about that. I forgot. Thanks, Greasy Daddy. That's very sweet. You like Dracula tuning. That one's fun. What is it? It's D-A... oh, no. If it's in C. It's a C-G-C, F, B-flat, D, right? I think that's right. Can I speak on what it's like letting other artists write accompaniments to your music and doing the same for their music? I do a lot of accompanying of other people's music. For example, working with Andy. The album that Andy McKee and I did, he mostly played tunes that he knew already, including my tunes. The tunes that we did that were my compositions, he mostly played my part. And then I came up with a second part sort of as an accompaniment, if you want to call it that, or a complementary part. Because I come from an improvisation background, I'm kind of able to do that more or less on the fly, which is handy. And then with Callum, Callum was actually better about like really coming up with unique parts for tunes that either he wrote or I wrote, and then we'd play them. He'd really try to fit his parts kind of really in the gaps. Plus, when you're playing 2 guitars, very often it's really smart to play in different ranges. So you can do that, by one of the players playing, say, with a capo on and playing in high range while the other person plays in regular pitch. Or another way of doing it is baritone guitar and regular guitar together. That way you're not tripping over each other in the same range all the time. So I hope that helps answer that question. You'll have Catherine and Dracula and Friends tune and Berkeley Springs. Oh yeah, Berkeley Springs is open F tuning. Yeah, FAC, FCF. Yeah, exactly. What inspired the name First Ride? It was my very first time riding a horse.
The very first girl I dated when I was 14, I was trying to impress her because she was really into horses. And I said, oh, yeah, sure, I know about horseback riding. I knew nothing about horseback riding. I was a city kid. So, yeah, it was terrifying the first time. But, you know, it was okay after that, like a lot of things with dating. Let's see now. I should jam with Antoine Zufour. Antoine and I have performed together a few times. And I did record with him on one of his albums. We did a beautiful duet of his tune called Catching the Light. Check that one out. It's from the album, I think it's called Reflect is the name of the album. And Catching the Light. It's a really beautiful duet, and I play that baritone guitar on it. It just sounds like $1,000,000. We've played that tune live a few times. And we've talked about jamming on some Gentle Giant tunes because we both love Gentle Giant. Where do I start if I want to learn how to see someone playing and figure out their tuning and notes? Well, these days, the great thing is that you've got so many performances on YouTube that you can watch, and then you can slow them down. You can watch YouTube down to like half speed or quarter speed or whatever, and it doesn't change the pitch. And then that way you can watch the fingers move and you can learn what they're doing with each of their hands. And of course, there's tablatures that are available for a lot of these tunes. So there are so many ways to learn now that weren't available when I was learning how to play the guitar. So yeah, you're fanboying right now, Greasy Daddy. Thank you. So that should help you. Okay, let me just chance turning on the Facebook big picture for 1 second. I might make weird noises, but just so I can see if anybody's got a recent question. Let me know if this is better. I think it was since I opened the Facebook page to the bigger size. That seems to have started it because everybody started reporting on about 7 minutes ago. Is there okay. Didn't see too many new questions on Facebook. Great. All right. Yes. I guess we all order some tabs. I hope so. Also, check out, of course, if you'd like to take some online lessons. They're short, little 10, 15-minute lessons that you'll see at the Don Ross Guitar Academy. And I have like 40 beginner lessons and 40 intermediate lessons. I need to create some new content. It's been a little while, but I've been a little busy, but I'll get around to it. I also do one-on-one Skype, Zoom lessons if you want to do that. If you're feeling inspired, it's Christmas and you want to chip into our Christmas fund, you can always do that. Check out my website, which is donrossonline.com, and my tour schedule that I know about so far is all on there. So you can check out my upcoming dates, which are the end of December. This December 28th, I'm doing my show at Hughes Room Live, which I have not been able to do since before the pandemic. It's my Between the Holidays show. So I always do a show between Christmas and New Year's. So that's on the 28th of December in Toronto at the new location of Hughes Room Live, which is 296 Broadview Avenue, sort of in Riverdale. So that'll be fun. 28th of December. And then in January, on the 11th, I'm in Halifax at the Open Waters Festival. The 16th, I'm at the Trailside Cafe with Sean Hall. He's also playing the Open Waters Festival. And on the 18th, I'm at the Carlton in Halifax with Sean as well. And then in February, I do a really long, extensive tour with Yulia Marischka, who's watching right now, over in Germany. And so that's a whole pile of dates, and they're all on the website. They're all over the map there. It starts on February 21st and goes till March 17th. And then after that, I've got at least 3 shows in Spain, middle of March. And then in April, I'll be touring in Ontario with Kent Nishimura, great young Japanese guitar player. And then there's more crap happening later in the year. All right. Yeah, you're very welcome. I'll play one more tune. Let me know what you want to hear. It'd be nice if it was close to tunings like Michael. Somebody mentioned Loaded Leather Moonroof. Maybe I'll just play that. So it's in almost the same tuning. So this tune, I think of it as kind of like Pat Metheny meets ZZ Top. And I just wanted to write kind of a thrashy tune. Again, this does have melody, but it's really minimalistic, really simple melodies. But it's just a bit of fun. Loaded Leather Moonroof. No, that's not how it starts. make repeat to the shorter version. Yeehaw! All right, little Albanian hurtin' music there for you. All right, thanks for being here, everybody, and it's fun to do these spontaneous little Ask Me Anything sessions every once in a while. Once again, if you're interested in meeting every week, part of what we do at the Don Ross Guitar Academy, this thing up here, is I do these weekly streams for just a small group that meets, that are actually members of the Guitar Academy. And there's usually a topic we talk about every week. And sometimes there are interviews with other players or luthiers or people who are in the guitar scene. So check it out. All right. Have a happy one. And if I don't see you beforehand, have a great holiday season. And it was really nice to be with you today. All right. Talk soon. Bye-bye.